anyone can operate the equipment. How many people can really give people comfort and confidence in that process while they're going through it, suffering from major depressive disorder? A lot of people who suffer from major depressive disorder are suicidal. We want people to feel cared about. And if I give you an uncomfortable plastic chair, slam a sliding glass door in your face after handing you a clipboard, you feel like I've connected with you? If the three of us are depressed, are we all depressed the same way? Maybe, or maybe we are, maybe we aren't. Shouldn't we look at what we started treating? And that's what our doctors and our partners with Radial are expert in, is how do you make sure that the treatment you're giving is the appropriate treatment.
Hello there, and welcome to Skyman and the Bug. I'm the Bug, and that is
the Skyman.
We are here to build relationships, technology, and work on the many wonders of being a business owner and a nutcase. Thank you for joining us, and we look forward to you listening to us, laughing with us, and taking a journey with us as we build businesses and relationships. Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome to another episode of Skyman and the Bug. I am the Bug, Nikkei Roach, and my co-host and co-criminal element is Josh the
Skyman Sheminsky.
And welcome, you crazy
Criminal
people.
element?
I know, criminal element. You crazy people out there who are in the world of relationship, business, tech, education, software, you name it. We cover all parts, but the unifier is relationship, how to build relationship within your ecosystem. And today is no exception. We get to talk with the CEO. We get those CEO kind of folks in there. So we get to talk with Robert Jordshaugen. I want to make sure I got that pronounced it. And we were joking because, it's a really good, strong, Viking name. Makes you want to go out and beat somebody up, but I'm just kidding. But in his new life, he's the CEO of Breakthrough 6 and Kindbridge, which is not about taking over, the world and beating people down, but is actually something very unique that we see out there in the marketplace. So, Robert, welcome to the show.
Appreciate it much. Thank you for not.
Well, I'm going to take it from here. So give us your super, super secret stuff. I mean, can you give us just an overview of what you do and how you got into it?
Well, real quick, how I got into it is after I went to grad school at that place down the road with the dark blue shirts that plays basketball. I can't say the name in Wake Forest territory. No, I got to do, I was in the technology industry for a while, and I went back and got a grad degree from Duke, which was a combination of their B school and their med school. Very cool program. Came out working in healthcare. And one of the things I saw working in emergency rooms is just how, I hate to use the note here, how crazy mental health was. When you see what was happening in the emergency rooms, we're bringing them in, holding people, not doing anything for them. And even a lot of the hospitals, we weren't making people better. When COVID hit, one of the people I've worked with had been working in the gambling industry, gambling prevention industry in Europe, Daniel Unfleet. And he came to me and said, hey, there's this thing called sports gambling. And I had built out teletherapy networks in the past. So I said, we said, let's build out a teletherapy network, which is now Kindbridge. Kindbridge is a national leader in gambling addiction treatment, along with video game addiction, pornography addiction, eye addiction, people addicted to AI characters, spending 10 hours a day there. And
we know too.
And so Kindbridge is the leader in that space, and that's actually currently going for a Series B raise. It should be done at some point soon. I'm no longer day-to-day. Dan is doing an incredible job, but we built the company up. I'm still board of director and still much stock. Very active and very much enjoy what we're doing and participating in the board of directors. We have a great set of folks there. In that process, I came across a doctor who was, in my opinion, doing something extraordinary with depression. And I got to know him. His name is Owen Muir. Owen Muir is one of the great minds in interventional brain medicine as a psychiatrist. And he has too many letters for me to pronounce, but there's a lot of them. He was working with alternative approaches to what's called Transcranial Magnetic Stimulation, brain magnets, which are FDA approved, by the way, and getting extraordinary results. So we took a deep dive into that and how to make that more widely available directly to the people who need the help the most. And that was how Breakthrough 6 came about. We are now operating our first clinic in La Jolla, California, surrounded by veterans. If you are at UTC, which is, if you are local, University Town Center, we're right across the street. over behind the PF Chang's.
I'm only laughing because that last part you said was with all the credibility that you said. You say it's right across from La Jolla. It's all great. And right behind the PF Chang's. It's like,
And unfortunately, you could argue whether or not PF Chang still has credibility.
yeah, you're right.
My dream house is in La Jolla.
Yes. On the hillside or in town?
On Costa Beach, there's a house, White House, beautiful, right on the, but I don't have $20 million to invest into it.
Well, there's one next to it that's for sale for $108 million. I don't know if it's still for sale. It was last spring. I think it's pretty.
Well, this was, so $20 million. This was, let's see, 1991.
Oh, if you start with 19 anything,
So
that was
it's
a
probably
long
gone up
time
in price.
A wee bit there.
just a wee bit.
My area is Del Mar, just up the block on the other side of the Torrey Pines golf course. That's
Okay, so we're going to go past the loveification of California for a minute and get back into the program because y'all are just going way off on the deep end. So, Robert, if it's sort of you have a varied background. I mean, you've covered the gamut. You've been all over, not only in the United States, but pre-show you told me you were abroad. You've worked in a variety of backgrounds. What do you see in your now iteration, now as the founder of Breakthrough 6, as a really missing piece that you've seen across the gamut? I know this is an open-ended question, but you can go and take it into a direction, preferably that's kind of cool.
Well, there's two things that really stand out. One is how we measure success within companies and how that drives behavior, or governments or anything like that. What I mean by that is, for example, in healthcare, if I'm a psychiatrist, I measure success not on how well patients get, but how much revenue can be generated by taking them through a path. Well, that path includes SSRIs, some ketamine, and maybe this, maybe that, maybe this, maybe that. So by measuring success on revenue per patient, because of the cost of getting patients, for example, we're missing out on what we can provide by actually curing them. So when I say organizational governance, look at large companies you guys have worked in, where the decisions they make or consulted for, the decisions they make seem really bizarre. But when you look at how they measure success for their different departments, their different folks, and then how people will work to that metric, the outcomes will seem insane. But from their perspective, they were right on point. Remember, and you guys know this, you're both consultants as well. At the chart, the green line goes up and the red line goes down. Green line is good. It's always got to be better. The red line is bad. It's always got to get smaller. So what we're missing is sometimes how we measure success and what we define success as within companies or within small corporations. We measure success in three ways. Number one, clinical outcomes. The doctor says, this is the plan of treatment. We have to make sure patients there, technicians there, equipment works, everything happens as it's supposed to. Number two is client experience, how we treat each other. We go to a specialist in the US, uncomfortable chairs, sliding window, clipboard. We have a spa-like experience, and we really focus on people feeling amazing. And three is how we treat each other in a company, how we feel working with each other, how much joy we have being part of each other's lives, making this happen, growing this company. That's how we measure. And by doing that, we think we get the outcomes that are most close with the mission that we have. So that's my little thought.
So I really agree with those principles. We, where we work, we strive on transparency and integrity and communication and responsiveness. If you accomplish those four, you're doing well for yourself.
My team will laugh at my responsiveness. I am the epitome of the absent-minded professor. They love having to remind me.
You know what? I have spoken to one of your team members. I think I can relate to that because Michelle, and I hope it's okay to name her, she is an attentive VP. She has taken us to a whole new level of really being on the spot and making sure that everything is aligned. And I'm like, wow. So I now get it when you said that. I think, kudos to Michelle for making sure you're where you're supposed to be and the rest of the team.
And the point of having the team around me is if I only bring on people who are exactly like me, I mean, we're going to have a bunch of people who can't remember to do anything. And it's not that I don't remember. It's usually I'm in conversations all the time. I'm in line for coffee. Oh yeah, I'll do that. And there's a movie that we all remember. One of the creepiest movies ever. Julia Roberts' second movie when she was famous. What was it? Sleeping with the Enemy. That's
yes. Oh God, that was creepy. Oh
remember
my God.
that line? That's what reminding is for.
I don't know if I could watch that movie too many times because that I think I watched it a couple times. Like, yeah, I don't want to be married to that person, so that's just bad. That takes stalking and neurotic behavior to a whole new level, or narcissistic behavior to a whole new level.
Well, I'm not recommending the movie, just that one line. Just that
Just
one
that
line.
one line. So watch the whole creepy movie just so you get this one line, right? Okay. So you spoke about it in your 3 core principles in your organization, and it sounds like there's and then there are patients, there are clients, depending on what moniker you use with them. But you talked about the almost like the customer experience. Well, customer, how did you come up with that part? Because coming from a clinician environment myself, I know what it looked like to work at a hospital. They're efficient in some respects. Some of our guests might disagree on efficiency because we've had some in the past who like, I worked in the hospital, not the place of efficiency. Okay. But talk me through that user experience and why did you decide to go to the spa experience outside of staying within the established clinical environment, given the fact that you're doing a new level of care?
Well, there's 2 reasons. So in the healthcare space, I used to joke that people take, because if you're in the hospital, it's the worst day of your life. And the processes we would have is we take the worst day of your life and then really ruin it for you.
I know Josh is laughing because Josh has some personal experience with that recently. So yeah.
Sometimes in healthcare, you can't fathom how we can make the day any worse, and then they just stun you. They're fantastic people, but usually it's a process of how we measure what we do. We only have to have you have to have a 30-second response rate or whatever. They'll try to do these things, but they won't match. They won't be coordinated. And if I were to get chest pain and go to an emergency room, I could interact with 9 different departments before we even knew if I was having a heart attack, needed my gallbladder out, or needed to take a Rolaids. And none of these departments talk to each other effectively. I mean, so it's goofy. So for me, having had family that's been with a lot of specialists, what we're doing is TMS, even though we're getting, and it's published, it's FDA approved, covered by most insurance. And these protocols, we're getting, high, 78, it's actually, we're seeing even higher percent remission gone in 2 days. It's still, I'm telling you, okay, brain magnets. That's a look, really.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. I was trying to give you the look that somebody would say. You said brain magnets.
It's real, it works, it's FDA approved. But what part of that is making sure that all the people they interact with really understand, can explain the details of why the technology works to them. Anyone can operate the equipment. How many people can really give people comfort and confidence in that process while they're going through it, suffering from major depressive disorder? And a lot of people who suffer from major depressive disorder are suicidal. We want people to feel cared about. And if I give you an uncomfortable plastic chair, slam a sliding glass door in your face after handing you a clipboard, you feel like I've connected with you. And so it's really about how do we create connectivity in that?
So I'm an old-fashioned person at heart, and you go back to way before my time in the 50s, where doctors actually spent time with patients, and they maybe saw 8 patients a day instead of 80.
104.
How many?
Okay.
104. This is I don't know if that number is, I can't validate that number. A friend of mine's brother told me that. A friend of mine, his brother is a doctor, and that was the number they gave.
So you have 8 patients a day. You spend an hour, maybe do half hour, right? So 16 patients a day. But you have to know your patients. You knew them inside and out, right? And those patients were with you for years. Now your patient gets in there, maybe they're 5-10 minutes. You don't even know the doctor's name that's coming in and out of the other.
Well, and remember, the doctor, it's not just the visit time. They have to go chart you on these insanely complicated systems that just take forever to go through and do the H&P review.
Mm-hmm.
What information do we have? And then what do we have to type? And the reason we have to do that is required to get any sort of reimbursement. It used to be you paid the doctor in cash, and he was happy. Everyone's happy. But that's not our model anymore.
So I looked on your website, and you cover PTSD in part of your deliverables and stuff like that. And I know if I use the word PTSD around a certain population, that would be veterans. Many of the issues that have occurred in the past and in our current state of affairs, depending on how you look at it, we are creating more cases of PTSD combatants. These are service line individuals, be they firefighters, emergency responders, police officers, or anybody who's in the environment where they have to be a heightened sense of awareness, but those problems they kind of check off down the road, and that's when they pop up. Why did you pick PTSD? And I know you said major depressive disorder, but why did you pick PTSD as kind of like the other side of that?
Well, one of the things that I found working in the addiction space is once you peel back the addiction, and it's whether it's gambling or alcohol or any other substance we can be addicted to. Process addiction is what's called addictions that you don't drink or snort, but more visual addictions, is when you peel back the onion, what do you find? Depression, trauma, and usually anxiety, a few other things, but those are the big ones, the big three. Oftentimes they go together, they're related. A lot of our patients that have PTSD also have depression, and the treatment for depression is one that's covered by some programs within the VA more easily. There's a wonderful treatment for PTSD called PRISM, but it's a little bit harder to get that covered. And a lot of these veterans, they don't have the ability to necessarily pay cash for a program.
Mm-hmm.
So using the TMS for their depression, for the ones that have depression, if they just have PTSD, then that's not an appropriate clinical solution. And we refer that, and we come up with those other solutions.
Could you explain the TMS for everyone that's listening?
Transcranial Magnetic Stimulation.
Thank you, because I'm thinking
FDA approved.
something else altogether different.
FDA approved.
TMS.
No, TMS. I'm thinking about my car for some reason. I have no idea, but smile and nod. But thank you, Robert, for clarifying that for those of us who are in the I have no
So
idea
ultimately,
section.
most traditional TMS is 30 to 35% effective.
Mm-hmm.
Uncomfortable. Sometimes you'd either have to have someone hold a magnet in the right place, or you'd put it in a rack to hold your head. This is a very nice helmet that sits nicely up here. And it's also, the treatments are down to 3 minutes per treatment. They used to be 20 to 40.
Wow.
So instead of 40 minutes in a rack, like this is 3 minutes. You're in and out of there in 6 minutes with setup time. Then you do that every hour or so, multiple times a day for multiple days. And that's how we're getting people who are suicidal to feel a lot better really quickly.
Does that have to be pinpointing the part of the brain that's causing?
Yeah. Well, again, if the three of us are depressed, are we all depressed the same way? Maybe, or maybe we are, maybe we aren't. Shouldn't we look before we started treating? And that's what our doctors and our partners with Radial are expert in, is how do you make sure that the treatment you're giving is the appropriate treatment? And then there's ways with the equipment itself to make sure we're the absolute correct spot. And then doing so, giving the treatment, it's stunning. It almost sounds unbelievable, but I've seen it with my own eyes. And we've had multiple people that I know that have also gone and done it. The change in them is extraordinary. I can't do it because I have a piece of metal right here. I'll say it's because I shot, but it was with a BB gun, so it doesn't sound as cool.
So
No, all you got to do is leave it as I got shot. But there's a follow up to, how'd you get shot? And you say, that's just, I don't know if I want to tell you.
The other guy.
Yeah,
classified.
you can't, you just say classified. Because when you tell us it's a BB gun, it's like, Robert, your whole credibility just went out the window, man.
Well, here's the thing. Real credibility comes from authenticity.
You got a point there. You got me
So
there.
my wife has a little history of pinpointing brain, disease and all that. She has epilepsy, and she went through a series of tests and stuff like that to pinpoint where the seizures were coming from. Could something like what you guys have work with epileptic?
We've tested it. Sometimes it actually does trigger seizures. The best thing to do, and we can talk about this, is chat with one of the doctors that's expert in it. It's way past my clinical ability to say yes or no, which my clinical ability, when Owen hears this, he's rolling around laughing on the floor. He's the clinical guru, genius. I went to B school. I got nothing.
I could change the Band-Aid. That's my medical authority right there.
But what I've done is I've seen how extraordinary these outcomes are. And that's my mission.
What do you think is the biggest problem with people adapting this protocol? I mean, out there, we all know there's multiple things for ADHD, OCD, major depressive disorder, and a host of other conditions. What are some of the things that's kind of making it sort of, okay, I know I need to grab that because that is the go-to solution?
What's hard is as you said, there's so much noise. There's very few FDA approved and insurance covered solutions. And this is one of them. That makes it a little more attractive. Part of it, if you say, okay, I want TMS, I'm going to, look on the internet and find a doctor or find a psychiatrist near me that has it. Well, okay, the next appointment's in 3 months. Okay, then go on to SSRIs. Okay, after you try a different SSRI, which is the Prozac. Okay, now we're going to try this. And now we're going to try that. And then we'll go try TMS. And I have I won't say the brand, an old thing in the closet that I've had for 15 years that I don't even know how to get someone who can work it. But it's because it's not front and center, and it really needs to be. And here's a stunning number. If every TMS machine were operating 24/7, we couldn't hit 3% of the people who need the treatment a year. Couldn't even touch it. So it's lack of knowledge. That's why our sales and marketing process is head of sales is a Marine officer, lieutenant colonel, retired, going to where veterans are and telling the story. And now we have multiple people who we've healed who are joining him and telling the story. And they remembered him. They remembered these guys before. And they're like, who are you? What happened? And so that's been a big boost for us. And as we're moving, we started just treating as many veterans as we could, even though the program for reimbursement is just torturous. It's called the Compact Act. But now that we've done that, we're getting all these other patients in the door.
That makes sense. So sideways kind of question, because this is what we do. It's not going to throw you off guard, but it sort of is. If you were to pick a character, some character, which is like, you can be a comic book character, it could be a sports figure, since at the beginning of it, apparently you and Josh were just going all over the place about sports. And the fact that you knew that school, which has those maroon colors, is in Gainesville, tells me and that you knew where Duke was, tells me that you know something about sports. Maybe that's it. So the question goes back to what character or personality or something that you've come from your past is the epitome of you and what that means. So if you're Batman or Aquaman or Wonder Woman or Catwoman or whatever, hey, we're not gender going weird, but pick one. What would that be? And why do you think case?
Superheroes are in a way the antithesis of me. What I do is two things well. I tell stories and build teams. And by focusing there, who would be a fit in that space? It would be an entrepreneur, many entrepreneurs. It's how do we see a vision, have an idea become a mission, become a calling, if you will. And then how do you figure out how to build the team to put it together? One of the interesting parallels we could use then is my favorite guitar player, a gentleman named Jimmy Page, who was in a band. It kind of went away.
Never heard of him.
I'm going to go build this old vision. I'm going to go find 3 other people and happen to become the biggest band of the 70s. So I'll leave the heroin part out, but I can live without that. But
hey, you know what? You got to expect your artists to be a little creative in their consumption. And the fact that Josh knows that, because Josh is a big fan of certain music genre. And if you ever go on a road with him, he will play it for 5 hours straight. Drive you crazy.
Well, I'll tell you this. Yesterday, I'm at a golf charity for HBCU called Swing into Dreams. And we were in Central, or I don't know where we were in Georgia, and followed a road. And one of the guys on my team, who is an HBCU graduate, a Morehouse graduate, benefited from the program. I got him into it because I used that analogy for the next 18 months are going to be that level of intensity. So we're driving along the golf course. They look at him and then they hear the music. They're like, wait, what?
Fantastic. So kind of wrapping it up a little bit in that case, what would you like people to take away when they're looking for you? Where would they intersect with you, number one? And then number two, what would be a takeaway that you hope the listener would take from this podcast?
Well, one of the hardest things about building a company is there's never enough money. Everything takes longer and costs exponentially more than you ever imagined. Raising money is 10 times harder. And no matter when it is, every time everyone will tell you, well, 6 months ago, this would have been a fit, but now it isn't. And that doesn't matter when that is. But it's always a problem. That's life. Raising money is hard. Have your story, have your data strong, have your information strong so people can answer their questions. The AI tools now, you can use some AI tools that just shred your story, shred your spreadsheets, and can bring it to a level of diligence. It's just extraordinary. One of my advisors has a tool that he used, and we were just all stunned. Like, oh, Be ready. Be absolutely ready for that and go through those scenarios. But here's the thing, 10,000 doors slam in your face. And the difference between the entrepreneur who has a success and the one who doesn't is open the 10,000th and one with a smile, the same level of enthusiasm, the same belief in yourself. Because if you don't have that, what are you doing here? This is a grand adventure.
So you gotta have backbone.
Yeah. Well, the other thing is that there are treatments for mental health that really work, and you have as well. So those are the two things.
Those are,
Mm.
and although I was going to finish up with that, and our premise is all about building relationship. What would you say is your, and I don't want to get you any secret sauce in there, but what would you say is your secret sauce to building and maintaining powerful relationships? And I say the word powerful, not just something you met at the coffee shop and they're going to go about their business, but I mean powerful relationship that is going to be impactful somewhere. How do you do that?
One of my friends who's a speaker in this space, Adam, would tell me, and he's correct, is don't ask for anything. When you're meeting people, always be coming from the vision of what is it they need and how can I help them get that, rather than what is it that I want that this person can give, because everyone recognizes that in 2 seconds. So everyone knows my story. I'm in mental health and I'm opening more locations and raising money. I'm transparent. That's what we're doing. But when I come across people, and I come across people all the time, it's asking them what it is they need, what they're looking for. Because it may not be me, but I might know the guy and I can connect people. Because you're taking the approach, not what can I take, but what can I give? And by doing that, people recognize that in 2 seconds. You ever gone to networking events and it feels like every person there is selling insurance?
Okay, so I was there today. I was at a networking event and it was way too many insurance people there.
Yeah. And everyone's there like, "Hey, great. Well, insurance is wonderful. Wonderful. But you're asking me what you can take from me, not what you can do for me. And that's where you put up a wall. How many of those insurance people are you going to talk to on the phone tomorrow?
Probably not. Well, none today, but I talked to one this morning. It's our second go round, but he is different. Again, like you said, he wasn't asking. He was asking the opposite direction. And he's a youngster, which was kind of impressive because most youngsters are hungry and they want to, sell you the greatest product. But I think this person might go far. So thank you for that insight.
So, Robert, you're in Georgia and you have, one of the world's biggest networking events in your backyard starting tomorrow, the Masters. Could your magnets help those yips on the golf course?
Actually, it does have optimization properties, because what it's really doing is it's stimulating your dopamine, your serotonin, all the brain chemicals. It's stimulating them in a way that kind of reactivates parts of your brain. There is an opportunity for optimization. I haven't measured to say, how much farther can you hit a golf ball after treatment? Although yesterday at the event, I was on a hole with a long drive champion. He's driven a golf ball 462 yards or something like that. It's stunning. He hits the ball really far.
It's like Nikkei.
Yeah, whatever. All into the woods, maybe.
Yeah, well, yeah, I can hit it 462 feet into the woods, but so maybe he and I are going to follow up. Maybe I'll give him a before and after test and we can find out.
I'd be curious to how that turns out. Not having any expectation, but seeing those results, because again, barring, sports people are very competitive. Really, we never heard of that, but it's not about that. It sounds like you're not always about just that. It's about helping people to work through some of the cases that have been them impediments, if you will, moving forward.
Most of the suicides people have been trying for years to get help and just got very little help or got turned away constantly. But the technology is also, some of the things that they've noticed is for women, an increase in sex drive. So for men, it's cheaper than divorce attorney.
Get your mind out of the gutter.
Sorry. Hey, bro, I was totally, over here. I was like, really? You got my attention for real now. As a married man, you really got me going there, buddy.
Yeah, it's cheaper than the alternative.
Yes.
But what it does is it makes people feel great. And I've known people to do this and they've had fantastic results. And so it's something that I'm very, very pleased to be a part of and bringing to market. We figured out how to make the math really work in a really great way. And so the model's strong. Where this goes in the future is as we learn more and more about how to treat our brains, what are the big three that we don't do well at treating in the US? mental health, obesity, and pain. Okay, obesity where everyone's getting shots. Well, look around. Are people getting smaller? Are people getting healthier? No, they're not getting mentally healthier. And for pain management, because of Purdue Pharmaceuticals, we now underprescribe a lot of pain management. And my thought is where this is going to go. Unfortunately, I'm not the innovator, but I'm surrounded by innovators, is to a place where we can continue to find ways to help people use their brain as their own weapon against pain, depression, bad habits, as we all, how do we say that? What's that term? They don't call it old, mature,
seasoned, as my son,
as we
my
mature
wife.
into the manifestation of our lifelong eating decision.
I got a question. Does eating Burger King fish sandwiches correlate to mental health?
To go there.
Check on what oil they use. And that may have the biggest correlation is the oils and our body's tolerance to certain types of vegetable oils. Different people have different tolerances. Note, you got to make it at home. Make first one in oil, second one in butter, and third one maybe in avocado oil. See which one makes you feel better.
Explains a lot.
That explains, that's worth a challenge. Challenge accepted. I think I could try that out. Well, let's say somebody's randomly all over the internet or listening to this podcast or doing amazing things outside. How do they get in contact with you? I know you're in Atlanta, but you also were in California. But how do they get in contact with you? Give us all your 411 so that people can track you down.
I was going to say, close your eyes and try to spell my name. No, I'm kidding. The easiest one. So we have a brand. Our California brand is Norabello, which there's a whole story behind that. So the easiest way is Robert at b6nb.com. Or if you can spell that last name, even on the projection, you only see the first few letters. That's enough. If it isn't me, it's my daughter or my cousin.
Because there are very few people with this handle. So chances are good there are very few people on the planet who got this number or got this name. Okay.
Yeah, I know the feeling with Sheminsky.
Yeah, well, and then breakthrough 6, people ask me, what does that mean? Well, to bring an FDA breakthrough to market, and these are breakthrough treatments. You have your inventors, investors, regulators, payers, providers, patients.
Thank you for that, because I didn't ask that question, but I'm glad you answered it, because I saw it and I was just kind of like, what? Breakthrough 6? What does it mean?
So, again, we're still playing around. Do we have one name? Do we have 2 names? What do we do? We don't have a great brand. We're waiting for our Kindbridge moment. Ann Umfleet's wife was playing around with the name and just said Kindbridge, and we're all like, done. Perfect.
So,
and we're waiting for
that one now.
This company is have that perfect name up into our lap.
It'll come. Hey, how did Google come out? Just some weird way. That was a totally made up word, but hey, now it's a
I grew up in Portland, and a gentleman named Phil Knight.
Really? Didn't know him. Never heard of him.
He was looking at the old Greek god to come up with the shoe name. He was pretty successful with that brand.
Yeah, man, he may have sold a couple million shoes around the world, maybe more.
So I came up with a name for a company based on Sherlock Holmes. Sherlock Holmes said the game's afoot. Oh, a solution's afoot.
Yeah, well, very cool.
Well, thank you very much, Robert, for being here on another episode of Skyman and the Bug. God, I just forgot our brand name. Speaking of, right quick, I was like, what is our name? Skyman and the Bug. Well, we are the cross section of insanity. No jokes. I'm just teasing. Well, we are the cross section of innovation, medicine, technology, communications, and relationship building. And I thank you, Robert, for being in that ecosystem. We look forward to our follow-up episode, which we will have in the future, because as Breakthrough 6 grows and grows and grows, we want to see where you are down the road and see if you've learned some new things and some things that you may have had some assumptions that, either got validated or some you had to kick out the window. So thank you for being here.
I really appreciate you having me on.
You're welcome. Bye for now. You've been listening to
The Skyman
and the Bug. We appreciate you being here. Join us again for another episode of Skyman and the Bug. And if you have any questions, reach out to us either on LinkedIn, Facebook, and other places that you just try to find us.
Take care.
Bye.